this month's panel quilt, we're going to do something a little different. You can kind of see it here. I'll go to it in just a second. But this panel I bought is very, very horizontal. I love it. It's got a lot of color, a lot of prettiness, a lot of springy feeling, and I just love the style of the animals. This is actually Welcome to the Funny Farm by Connie Haley, and you can still get these panels online. I checked before I started this video. This is still available. You can just type in that Welcome to the Funny Farm by Connie Haley, and she's got a whole line of this, and it's really pretty. Where I went to buy this was Marshall Dry Goods in Batesville, Arkansas, and they had just this panel. They didn't have any pieces to go with it. I bought this back in the fall, I believe it was. No, late summer last year. I don't know if they still have it, but other people do. So anyway, back to the thing. I love it, but I don't know what to do with it because it's so horizontal, okay? So I did something bold. And I want you to think about that when you buy a panel. Maybe you really like it, the colors, but perhaps it just won't work where you want it to work. So what I did was, I had two of these panels. One I've cut, one I'm going to show you. I took a great big old ruler like this and I started right here. This is an 8.5 inch ruler. I lined it up and I cut here and I cut here. I moved it over and I cut this section out here. I cut this section out across here, and then I cut this section here. I also cut out a piece of the tree over here. I don't know if you can see that. And I cut out a piece of this tree here. We're going to go to the board in a minute and look at how I cut it. Now, once I did that, you would think that I would have a lot of this pattern left over, but I'm going to show y'all. When I cut it up, this is all that I had left. Just this little bit of scrap here. This is it. So, you can fussy cut your panels up into more reasonable blocks that might fit what your design is. And then we're going to put this together more like a collage. Not really a collage, that's not the right word. I don't know what the right word is. You'll see in just a minute. We're going to move over to the design board. And I think you'll enjoy it. It's going to be fast and simple. Now, I'm not going to use scraps, but this would be a great place to use scraps. I didn't have any pieces long enough, but if you have pieces long enough and to work with whatever your panel might be, you could use up a lot of scraps, or you might want to take the time to make some scraps to use. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and move over, and then that way you'll get a feel for what I'm talking about. I'm sorry about all the noise. My dogs are having a good time today. I don't know why. It's raining outside. They're usually scared, and they are just playing and having lots of fun today. So that's all the little scratchy noise you hear in the background, but that's okay. They're having fun. Here we are at the design board. So as you can see, as we've put them back together, it looks quite different than the big panel out. My first cut was this one because to me this was my most important piece of the quilt. This piece, and then this piece for my width. Now, not much of this is going to show, but that's okay. Maybe just right to his chin because you got that 1/4 inch seam allowance. The next big piece was over here. This is my biggest square. So I decided to build the bottom, not the top, but the bottom half of my quilt off of this block. Now yours may be different. So just think about what I'm saying. Don't worry about my measurements because the panel you might be cutting up might be completely different in size and form. It's the process of piecing as you go rather than the actual blocks that you have to work with, okay? So let's just play with my block and let your mind be open to be able to determine your block, okay? So when I chopped it out of my quilt, it was square, but I didn't know how big it was. I just cut the chunk out that I liked. I did. So we have this chunk, and this chunk. Those were my main chunks. Once I got the main parts of the animals that I liked, I looked at what was left. I had a nice piece with the pigs behind on it. And then I had this piece over here with the chicken and the chicken eggs. So these two in the quilt itself were next to each other. So I was just determined to do them together. And then I just trimmed out some of the excess. Like I didn't need a big old piece of the sheep's body showing, and we won't have that much of it showing. So it won't be distracting because it was actually here. And then this piece was actually here. All right, so I took this and I measured it. This it came out to 13.5 inches wide by 13 inches tall. That's what I ended up with. I couldn't do 13.5 tall to make it a square because I'd already cut it and it wasn't in the math to do that. So I took these two pieces here and I determined that I want these two pieces to be total width 13.5 inches. Well, obviously they can't be because of the way I cut them up. So I'm going to need to put a spacer piece of fabric in here. Okay, so to get this spaced right, I need to measure this piece, which is, sorry about the back of my head, 6.5 inches, okay? And this piece, which is 5. So that's 11.5 inches, right? 11.5, 12.5, 13.5. That's 2 inches missing. But wait, we're going to lose a 1/4 inch here and a 1/4 inch here, right, when we sew. So that's going to give me another 1/2 inch. Then when we put that 2 inches in here, we're going to lose a 1/2 inch on that. So I need to cut this space here 3 inches by 11 inches tall. So that's our first piece. Let me write that down because I mean, I had this there, but that makes more sense the way I just said it. So let me grab a pencil. We're going to go 3 by 11 inches. And that's going to be this piece here. Now that'll complete that. Now I can make this as from under the cow to the bottom of this. I can make it whatever length I want. It doesn't have to be what I've got spaced here because, to be honest, what I got spaced here doesn't really matter. So I know it needs to be 13.5 inches wide, whatever it is, to make it even width. Now I'm going to piece it from here all the way to here. So I kind of like my space, and it could be more, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So when I measured this, just playing with it up here, this is about 3. This is about 2. So that gives me 5 inches. So I think, well, okay, that gives me 5 inches. Half of that's 2.5, right? But then you got to add your 1/2 inch. So that would give me 3. But since this is already going to be that amount, I think I might want this to be a little different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these 2 strips 3.5 inches wide by 13.5 inches. I mean 3.5 inches tall by 13.5 inches wide. And I'm going to piece one of those here, one of those here. I'm going to piece these 3 pieces together. Then I'll piece this bottom to this top. And then we're going to remeasure this entire piece. That will give us the length that we need to work out on this side. Now, this little block here is a piece block of some of the trees that were left whenever I got through chopping it all up. So I just pieced it together to make it 8.5 inches wide because that's what the horse and pig head are, is 8.5 inches wide. I'm not so sure I really like this piece. So I'm thinking, just playing because we're just piecing as we go. that when I get this done, I may just want a big solid block of whichever piece I choose to be my in-between blocks. Now, I'm in a little bit of a dilemma here because the truth of the matter is I really like the strawberries with it, but that's going to make it very blue because it's just blue, 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 blue. I also really like this piece here because in this piece here, we have the quilts and the farm animals, and we are looking at farm animals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little piece of this one first because I got a lot of this one. This also came from that place in Batesville, Marshall Fabrics. I don't know why I can't remember that, but I just can't. So anyway, I think I bought this to actually go with this when I bought it. And then I got home and I thought, oh, what a cute apron. And then I didn't know. So, it's just been sitting there. Got to use something, right? So I'm going to cut what I need for this. And then we're going to come back over here and we're going to look at it all pinned up in that. If I like it, we'll go sew it. If I think it's not enough color, then I'll cut the strawberry instead. It'll just be a couple little scrap pieces here. It really won't be that much of a waste. So guys, I'm going to take just a minute and I'm going to run over there and do my cutting. Then I'll be back. Okay? So I'm back. Two things. I decided to cut this at 3 instead of 3.5. And here's why. Because it would be very wasteful to cut one strip at 3 and one strip at 3.5. And I just have this big piece of 3 and a pretty good piece of 3.5 left. And I got all 3 cuts out of one 3-inch strip. And this one was, locked in at 3.5 to make it the proper width. So I'm looking at this. I'm going to get behind y'all. I'm going to look at it with y'all. And I personally think that is just way too busy. Not only that, I didn't realize this in thinking about it, but this fabric actually ends up being directional. When you looked at it up here, it didn't look like it was directional. But once you cut it, it's directional. So that means I would have to cut strips going this way and strips going that way and all this stuff. And I don't really want to do that. I don't want to make it complicated. I want it to be fun. I want it to be fast. And I want to just enjoy it. And if you got to sit there and think, oh, direction this, direction that, direction something else, sometimes that gets tedious. So the winner is going to be the strawberry print. That's going to be the winner. So I'm going to go back over there, recut it in the strawberry print, and then I'll be back. And this is how you just play and design, okay? So pieces we go. Now you may have a print that just like that. It's the one you want, and you do not have to be concerned with cutting twice. But I just couldn't choose. I like the strawberry and this. My husband liked the strawberry, and my son liked the beige. And I see where his point was because the beige would calm it down. But once you chop it up, it does not calm it down. It speeds it up. So strawberry wins. I'll be right back. I'm over here looking at it with y'all. And oh, that's so much better. It's calmer. It's there, but it's not overpowering the little animals. So to make my point of why I decided to change it to 3 instead of 3.5, once I took that 3-inch strip and I cut out my two 13.5-inch lengths and my 11-inch length, this is all the scrap I had left. And that's not bad, okay? So we know that we're going to put this together. Now I could sit here and do all the math, figure it all out, and then cut all the pieces and be done. And then, but I don't want it to be complicated. I want it to be fun. And if I got to do all this math, to me that's complicated because I hate math. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. I'm going to bring it over to my sewing machine. I'll sew these 3 pieces together. I'll sew these 3 pieces together. Then we'll sew this on that. And once we get all that done, I'll get it all ironed and pressed. We'll put it back up on the board. Then we can measure it. And we'll know exactly how long this piece needs to be here. Now, this piece is not going to be able to be real wide because this isn't real wide unless we decide to put a strip on both sides, which we'll look at it. We might. So let me get this together and see how it looks because it might make sense to put a little piece here, a little piece here, and then just make this gap here a little bit wider because as it is, you can see it's probably only going to be about 1.5 inches. And that's not very much, but it might be all we need. I don't know. So let's put this together. First thing we're going to want to do is sew the straight seams. So make sure you get it to the right side of the block you're working on. Right sides together. I'm just going to whip this through there real quick. And look, if it's just a little hair short or over, you're just going to trim it. So I'm trying to work with the camera in a different place just so y'all can see this up close. All right, here we go. If I can reach my foot pedal, we are going to be in business. So we can chain piece this, okay? And look, 1/4 inch is important, but it's not going to make or break you on this particular block. So let me know in the comments if you think I made the right choice switching to the strawberry over the other one. So since I have 2 different blocks I'm working on here, I'll go ahead and add this piece here. But remember, this is your top. It does have a direction. So and it's the right side. So I want the right side of the quilt. So I'll make sure that I add it on the correct side of my block. Like I said, this might not matter with anything you do. It might not be a part of it at all. But here we go. Or maybe here we go. All right, here we go. I'll cut this off. Now I need to take the other piece that I have of the strawberry, right sides together, and add it to the bottom section. Okay, and then I have the top piece, and I just want to add the pig's butt to this piece. I think this is going to be cute. Just something fun. And you could turn it into a wall hanging. You could, if you had more than one quilt panel and you wanted to double up on some stuff, you could make it a bigger quilt, like a throw for somebody to use. You could turn it into an apron if that's what you wanted to wear. All right. All right, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to just let this iron real quick. So I went and ironed it. And now I need to put that top, oh, I dropped it. Top half to the bottom half. And it's not a big deal. Just going to be another straight seam. Just make sure when you do this that you have the blocks facing in the right direction if they happen to be directional. Because you wouldn't want to have to rip it out to flip your block over. So this first section's together. I stopped by my cutting mat and I measured it. It is 28.5 inches long. So this piece here needs to be 28.5 inches. Now, in looking at this, I don't think I have to be consistent in the width of all of my pieces because it gives it a little more flair if things are not all measured the same. So I think I'm going to stick with the narrower width. So let me grab, I got a ruler over here. So this one here is 24.5 inches wide. We have 13.5. Y'all bear with me. I got to do math. 13.5 plus 8.5. So that's 8, 9, 10. That's 22 inches, right? 22 inches. We're looking at 24.5 inches wide. So that's 2 inches plus your 1/2 inch. 4 is going to be 2.5. So it is going to end up being consistent. Oh well. But my other thought too in the process was, did we want this Or, let me grab that fabric and show you. Or, would I rather, just down here, and just stick a pin in this because it's too heavy to leave on its own. Put a solid piece of that. I got to get behind here and look with y'all. Let's do it like this for a decision. Let me look again. I think it does need the tree block. So, that being done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut myself a piece 2.5, which it'll only finish at 2. These finish at 2.5. This will finish at 2. 2.5 by 28.5 inches long. And I'm going to sew it to this side. Then I'll come back and we will look at it, and then we can determine the length of this side and the piece that needs to go to the top and bottom. Okay, so give me just a moment, okay? And I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so this panel here is 21 inches, and this measures 5.5 inches. So if I do the math there from 28.5, so that would be 26.5 inches. That would leave me 2 inches, right, total. And I really like something to break it against this top. Let me put my ruler here because I don't want to knock it down. So if I sew this to this, I don't think I like that. I think it needs a little bit of strawberry to break it up. So here is, as a designer of your own quilt, piece as you go. That's going to be our new word, piece as you go. I think what I would like to do is cut some of this off. And when I do that, it's going to need to do one of two things. I'm either going to sew it to the top of this and make it look like the trees are just coming around the little horse's head, or it will give me a bigger piece to go between, because I don't want to do an inch block on top and bottom of this. I think that would not really stand out very much. So if y'all hold on just a second, I'm going to go trim the bottom off and see what happens. Okay, so I took an inch off. So by taking an inch off, I could sew it there. Let me come look at that with y'all. And it would kind of look like the trees were coming off the horse's head. Well, not the horse's head, but you know, like in the background around the horse. Because you're going to see about a 1/4 inch less. Oops, sorry, cowboy, it mean kick you, babe. So it'd be like about like that. Okay. And then we could just put a spacer here. Or, sorry, it slipped when I grabbed it. We can go ahead and center this and just put a little piece on the top and bottom. Or again, we could just put a whole piece of strawberry there. I'm not sure what to do. I think I'm going to have to think about that a minute. And then I guess it'll be a surprise when I come back what I decided to do. Okay, so the winner was a top and bottom border around the trees. And yeah, I think that was the best choice. I had somebody come give me some advice. My son, I was like, Mama don't know what to do. So I gave him all the options, and this was the one he thought was the best one. So that's the one I went with. That being said, my math was still wrong. So when I put the top and the middle in, I was a 1/2 inch too long. Apparently, I don't know how to measure. So, not today anyway. I just took it and trimmed a 1/2 inch off this side at the top. I thought about it would probably been better to take it off the bottom. But the reason I didn't do that is because then my pig's belly would not have lined up. His butt would have been in a different place when I sewed this final piece together. So to make it more even looking, I took it off the top. I mean, this is sew as you go. There is no rules in how wide everything's got to be, how whatever, you know, just so it works out in the end. So if you look at this closely, you will see I'm about 1/4 inch off. So I'm going to sew it with this end straight. And if I got something to trim, I'm going to, ooh, sorry about that. I'm going to trim something off of this side. So that's the last piece I need to put on. And then we'll be ready for borders and such as that. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this on and trim that 1/4 inch off of that end. All right, so I did have to trim the 1/4 inch off of this side. But it really doesn't matter when you're cutting up a panel like this because you really don't have anything to match. I mean, overall, you want your width to be right and your height to be right. But if you got to trim a little off the bottom or a little off the side somewhere to make it right, who cares? Nobody will know unless you tell them. Y'all all know because you watch me make it, but nobody else will know. But a lot of times we get a panel, we buy it, we love that panel. It is the perfect panel. We just can't resist it, and then we buy it. We get it home and we think, what am I going to do with this? I mean, it's a rectangle, and this one was a rectangle. And so I said, let's cut it up. So don't worry about it. Just cut it up. It can't hurt. I mean, what's the worst happens? You destroy a piece of fabric you didn't like, you have to cut it up and make it scraps. Then we make a scrap quilt. So don't be afraid. Be yourself. Here y'all go. I think it turned out so cute. So, and it's very springy, summery. Something to put in the kitchen this time of year I think will be kind of fun. I do like the way the pig is split here. I think that turned out really neat. And I was going to consider adding extra borders here in different colors. I thought about the bright green or maybe some kind of raspberry purple color or pink or maybe even red or orange. But I decided that the strawberry needed to come on out and finish, like needed to be framed all the panels. And I think it's large enough as it is to hang in the kitchen. So I'm not going to be concerned about adding an extra border, but you could easily put as many borders on it as you want to. It would just be your choice. So I had this thought. I still have the second panel that I had bought. And so I think what I'm going to do, it's long enough, but it's not wide enough to be a backing. It's short wood. That's about 6-7 inches. So I think I'm going to add some strawberries to one side of this or some green or something to one side of this. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this panel for the backing. And that'll put it all together and make, you'll know where the original stood. And then you'll know where this is. And I think that's kind of cool. So anyway, guys, I'm real proud of it. I just added, I cut the borders at 3 inches. They finish at 2.5. Okay, by the time we put the binding on. I do believe I will bind it probably in the green, but who knows? I may look and decide on one of the pinkish colors. I'm going to get to working on that very shortly so that I can present y'all a finished quilt before this is all over. I really hope y'all enjoyed this one because I really, really did enjoy doing this one. I like working like that. Just a little this, a little that. It's freeing. You're not so confined because let me just show you something here. That's something else I'm working on. That quilt is not freeing. It is very difficult. And I'm going to finish it. And I did record it as I go. But y'all, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And it's kind of cool. So it might be, I don't think it'll be April. It might be May when that gets released or later than that. Just depends on how long it takes me to finish it. But I am working at it because, well, now I have a YouTube channel, so I have to finish my projects. But I could tell you, at one point I was close to putting in the garbage can. Sometimes things you think up, but I think I needed this. I just needed something light and fun to clear my mind before I go back and work on that a little bit more. So anyway, this is our panel quilt for this month. If y'all have any questions, please ask them in the comments. You can email me at beyourselfquilting@gmail.com. I'll answer you. You can go to the Facebook page, Be Yourself Quilting, and post your panel projects on there. or if you're participating in one of the other block things we're doing, you can post those on there. Or if you just got something you want to share, post it on there. If you got an idea for something you want me to try, post it. If I can figure it out, I'll try to put it on here. I can't guarantee you it'll be like next month, but I'll try. If I can't figure it out, I'll just tell you I can't figure it out, okay? So anyway, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Oh, by the way, this strawberry fabric, I believe this was, they had a shop hop in the northwest corner of Arkansas last year in spring 2024. Let's put it like that. And this was some fabric, I think, from that shop hop fabric line. Now, I bought this in the fall of 2024. It was left on a boat, and I just bought some because well, I come from a little town where they celebrate strawberries, so it just kind of appealed to me. It's not just strawberries, it's cherries and strawberries. Anyway, so there might be some shops in the northwest corner of Arkansas that would have the strawberry fabric, but I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. But any little light fabric would do. And so, like I said, if you wanted to play with this one, it's available online, and just have fun. Find you a panel that you got stashed away because you didn't know what to do with it, and have some fun. I like it when the blocks are varied. I thought y'all might like to see a little bit of the quilting process. I don't do anything fancy. I'm not real talented on doing all that beautiful, let's just call it what it is, absolutely beautiful machine quilting. I never have figured that out. I'll tell you what my problem is, and maybe somebody will have a recommendation out there. My problem is I can't get my back tension right. So I don't know if it's my machine or my speed. I really don't know. But I hate it when my quilt on the back looks terrible. So to avoid that, I just do, well, y'all see me do some of that circle quilting, and then I just do straight line quilting. Now this one, I could do stitch in the ditch, and it would probably be kind of good, but some of these boxes are a little big, so I'm going to have to go across them anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is just make me a line straight down the middle, or it doesn't have to necessarily be down the middle. And then I'm just going to, sorry, I'm trying to change my foot and talk at the same time. Good and tight there. Follow it so many inches off in one direction or another, which means I need my quilt bar snapped in. I probably should have snapped that in before. Just the one that don't fit. I don't want to break that thing again. I done broke that once. I don't know which one belongs on this one. Okay, that's that one. I broke that little plastic casing on there one time. That was not nice. So anyway, I put this light blue thread in the top and bottom bobbin. It's real light, like this color light. On the back, what I did was I took the panel and I just added what strawberries I had left to the top and bottom, or to the sides. And so one side will be the whole panel put together, and the other side will be this piece block we made. Now, let's see, I had my thought, and that's why I said now, and then I lost it before I got it out. I really, you know what I was thinking? I thought this would make a really cute little baby quilt. I don't know, maybe not, maybe I'm crazy. So, anyways, I'm just going to find me a line, sew as straight as I can. Actually, probably would look better if it was done more of on a horizontal. Okay, give me a minute. Let me get a ruler and draw a horizontal line. I didn't draw any particular angle. I just drew actually as far as my yardstick would reach across my fabric. So, first line, when you do this, you are going to sew directly on the line that you drew. I kind kind of like this too because I can quilt off and on, and that way I don't have all those ends to tie in. I know, that's lazy. Alright, and I'm going to try to stay on that line so it'll be straight. Okay, so that's the first line. So what I'm going to do now is I could just turn the sewing machine, the fabric around, which I could do that. And we'll go back. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone. Now this time what we're doing is this bar here is going to be our distance. So that's going to ride on the line of stitching that you're copying. And you're just going to be out there sewing in the wind, okay? So you're not watching your needle. You're watching this bar on this line of stitching. Let's see if I could do that. Because me, I like to watch that needle. So I did the quilting only in one direction. I feel like if as close as I made it, if I come back with a secondary piece, it's going to be too small and we're not going to see a lot of the print behind it. But I do like it. I think it turned out really well. So let's look at the back real quick. I just used that panel and I just put a little bit of the strawberries that was left on the top and bottom to make it big. So the back shows what the panel originally looked like. And here's the piece part here. Now, it used about it used a yard of fabric, of the strawberry fabric, to do the in-between pieces and these two pieces on the back. So this quilt consisted of 2 panels, which is 2 yards basically, and then an extra yard. So it's just like a 3-yard quilt. Yours could be more or less. It just kind of depends on how you cut your panel up. Also, I chose this for my binding. This was 10 inches, so it's going to be 1/3 of a yard because it's with the fabric. I know it's a little busy looking, but I think when it's the binding, it's just that little bit showing, it's going to be just perfect because it's got the berry colors, it's got the greens, it picks up on a little bit of the yellows, the peaches, the oranges. I really think it just has everything. I have no idea what this fabric was. I could show you a little bigger piece. Crystalia, Crystalia, is all that I see left on this. Anyway, this was the fabric. I don't even remember where I bought it or what I bought it for, but I've been chunking away at it. I probably had a yard. This is what I got left. So just to give you an idea of what it looked like. I just thought it had all the colors of the quilt in it, so I think that'd be a good finish on the edge. And I mean, if I could have went conservative and I could have just went solid green, or a berry color. I really didn't have a berry color though. I think something like this color that's in this beet here, the beet stem, I think that's a beet. But anyway, I think that color would have looked nice, but I didn't have any of that. I didn't have enough of a bright green. I think yellow would have been horrible. So I just think this was perfect. So I'm gonna get over there and put the binding on it. And then I'm gonna get it hung up in my kitchen and I'll give y'all a final look at it. It's all completed. I'm calling this my Piece As You Go panel quilt. I love the binding. I love the quilt subject matter. I just think this is just the greatest little funny form out there. I wanted to say, if y'all enjoy doing this, kind of just letting the quilt happen rather than a lot of pre-planning, let me know. We could do more of this. I think something like this done with UFO blocks would be kind of cool. But, you know, I enjoyed this kind of work, but you may not. So give me your opinion and let me know what you think, okay? So remember to always be yourself. Have a great week, and I'll see y'all again next week. Bye.